And welcome to Life Support Live, the weekly live show that explores how Star Trek can help us to build a go in our own lives, to better ourselves and the rest of humanity.
Yes, as a famous starship captain once said, I vaguely remember having a conversation about this eons ago, because it also reminds me that another famous starship captain once said, wherever our mission takes us, we'll try to have a little fun along the way.
Hello, everyone. I am psychologist Dr. Ali Mattu.
Really? And I'm Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, and one of us is a real doctor.
We will leave it to you to figure out who that might be. On this week's episode of Life Support Live, we are talking about rituals for a few reasons. Why? Let us know, what is your favorite Star Trek episode that features a ritual? It might be an Earth ritual, a non-Earth ritual, a Starfleet ritual, a Klingon ritual. They have many to choose from. And let us know. We're going to be having a good time today talking about that.
Yes.
Larry, if this is the first time folks might be here at Life Support Live, what is this grand adventure we are on?
It feels like the first time.
Yeah, it feels it's the first one in a while. It's been a long road.
Not to reference the old 70s rock song. This is called Life Support Live, and we started this during the pandemic, of which we're still in the midst of kind of a little bit. But what we're doing is boldly going through uncertain times. We are geeking out on Star Trek with a little bit of a mental health filter to see it, but we're still having a lot of fun, and we have a great time. And if you are new to Life Support Live, we have a great community. Our lifers are here. And let's jump in. It's been a couple of weeks, so let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Can I just say, though, so this was, you're going to ask me.
Yes.
Well, what did you ask me? What did I let you ask me? I was going to say something, but I'll hold up.
Well, let's open up the briefing room. This is the part of the show where we do a deep dive into the canon, and each week's theme is inspired. Sometimes it's inspired by new episodes of Star Trek. Sometimes it's inspired by just what's on our mind. Sometimes it's inspired by what is currently happening in the world. This week's episode, Rituals, my friend, Dr. Trek, Larry, how did we come about this topic for this week?
It's the latter of the three there. No, this week's topic was inspired by real-world events. And there's been 2 episodes of Discovery flyby. The world got saved. I think last time we were together, they had announced the worldwide compromise to get Discovery out to everybody outside the Americas.
Yeah. Our last week's episode was about actually how difficult that was for the fan community, not having having Discovery pulled away from our global audience at the last moment, and a few days later, probably because of our episode.
Yes.
CBS, Paramount, Viacom changed. Yeah, they changed their mind. So that's what we were talking about last time. What's been going on since?
There've been 2 episodes go by. There are a lot of things we talked about, but what I thought was interesting was, number one, how we're drowning in. I even had a Tuesdays Live topic called "Drowning in Anniversaries," drowning in the good way. It seems like this part of the year there are so many. If you think about it, the series mostly premiered in the fall, and a few premiered in the spring. Now we're in streaming season when shows can premiere all year long, so that may be a moot point. But the movies all come out either for the summer blockbuster season or for the holidays, and so we've had a ton. As I sent you a specially prepared graphic, we've had a ton of movies premiering lately that we had the anniversaries of. And people, number one, Star Trek loves its anniversaries, especially when it's a 0 or a 5 year, right?
Yes.
Can you put that up?
Yeah. Let me put it up.
I did a lot of deep, dark research here. So,
we've got, it's a 35 year for Star Trek 4. It is the 30th anniversary of Star Trek 6. Wow. 25. Oh, this is a lot to take in, Larry.
Sorry.
5 years separate Star Trek 4 from Star Trek 6 from First Contact. That's a little wild.
You're compressed. Now, my point here is we love the even anniversary, like the major year anniversaries, like fives and zeros.
Yeah.
But being Star Trek, people want to celebrate everything.
Yes, we do.
So the bottom there, and for some reason it's because it was the first, because it was December 7th, and people were happy to redeem Pearl Harbor Day, maybe. But anyway, it's the 42nd. So if you're a big Hitchhiker's Guide fan, it's a big year anyway for you. But it's the 42nd anniversary of Motion Picture that just flew by. And even Generations was the 18th. It's the 27th year of Generations. But I didn't even put everything up here. I'm talking about the fall. So like November and December, if you've been sitting at home going, oh my God, it's another anniversary. Wait, didn't we just celebrate this 3 days ago? It's like a season of anniversaries. And this isn't everything. Hey, you know what today is? Today is
seasons of anniversaries. Seasons of anniversaries. How many minutes does it take to watch all of Star Trek? How many minutes of binge watching track? How many minutes and what series do you watch first? Do you start with TOS or Enterprise? Talking about seasons of anniversaries. You've let me go for way too long on that one, Larry.
I was just flashing back to
cut.
To that little thing they did for Discovery when all the singers in Discovery, Anthony Rapp, they all did a takeoff on that a few years ago for a promo. Remember? You remember that?
I do remember that.
They did a CBS promo, yes.
Yeah, and there is another Rent connection for us, of course. Anthony Rapp, the original, one of the original players of Rent.
Of Rent. Well, here's my thing. You keep singing because on top of that graphic I did, here I can throw this out, although I don't think I see people partying. Happy anniversary of Insurrection. This day in
today.
1998. Yes.
Today.
Yes.
Well, Larry.
But wait, there's more. In 2 days, it will be the 19th anniversary of Nemesis in 2 days.
My goodness. December was a big month for Star Trek.
It's because it happened. I know it's funny how December and November happened during the holidays.
Yeah. Before Star Trek tried to be a tent pole, it was a lot of holiday releases. Well,
and just in case anybody, don't get all choked up about it.
I'm okay. I just
it's just facts. I can tell you're emotional. So all the JJ movies, and I did not forget them, they're all summer tentpole movies. But guess what? As it currently stands, the elusive Star Trek 4, the Arabic numeral 4, Star Trek, got pushed back, and now it is set for December 22nd, 2003.
Oh, wow.
So 2 years.
So we're at the negative 2-year anniversary of Star Trek 4, Kelvin 4. Mm-hmm. Nice. So this actually got us thinking about rituals, and there's another reason why I got us.
Somebody says thought. There was thought put into this. Yes, there was thought.
Larry, you were at a really special event last week too, which was
the reason we came up with this theme was I saw and we were talking about how I don't know, I wonder the old wisdom about not putting out new episodes of TV series over the holidays unless it was a special. It might be true because it feels like Discovery's, we'll see. A lot of folks aren't watching Discovery or they can't or whatever, but even for people who are, it feels like it's in a little bit of a blur and it's losing out to all the distractions of the day. But that's why this week felt right to just take a second and look at what was going on around us, because a once-in-a-lifetime event just happened. We just had the fair here in LA, and it was meant to be global. Pandemic had other plans. We had some visitors from around the world, but basically this last weekend, people could follow on socials and web traffic. It was the farewell event for Nichelle Nichols. Finally able to happen. I sent you a picture of the final hour of the final event when she had a special medal presented by NASA. Can you find it?
I found it. View screen ahead.
Yay. So you see Nichelle there, her white hair. That's her son Kyle. Mae Jemison is there, two faces over.
Oh.
But yeah, there's a lot of her family is over there behind her. This doesn't show the fans that are off to the right side of the picture, but in front of me and around and behind. But Yeah, and you see the board, the big screen there behind. So that was kind of a climax moment of what had been at times just felt like a normal convention, but was always sprinkled. Everything was about her, even if we just had people who were there to, every panel. If I had 3 or 4 actors that I got to moderate or whatever, we would start off with, well, does anybody have a Nichelle story? Does anybody have a reflection on this? And then we would kind of, because it was also pandemic, and there were a few. It wasn't a huge event. I mean, by the time people couldn't come, or they delayed a year and a half, or they asked for their original tickets back from 2020. It was 200, 300 people, 400. It wasn't large at all. And there was mainstream LA Comic Con, which itself was delayed, was going on also there, and you could go back and forth between the two events. But the folks that were able to be there and be live, it was incredible. They had a party Saturday night. She danced. I mean, there's videos. There's all. If I encourage everybody to look it up, go look and see. I've got some video I still haven't put up, but excuse me. But it was one of those, touchstone moments in your own life, much less in hers. And it just got me thinking about how that, plus the drowning in anniversaries, got me thinking about how we love to mark time. And we said rituals for our theme today. And you mentioned these. And the thing is, it's Star Trek and it's science fiction. And oh my God, even forget the Earth things. We've got Vulcan and Klingon and, Beta Z and Ferengi and whatever rituals out the wazoo. So we can mention those. But what I liked was, like a retirement going away party is not a holiday. And marking anniversaries. I mean, wedding anniversary or the anniversary. They're not holidays, but they're things that we've come up with to mark time. And different groups like to mark different things in different ways. So I feel like we can give a nod to all the, the wacky Klingon and Vulcan, et cetera, rituals. But I really want to think about the things that we do in our own way or with our own groups or families or whatever to mark time and what that even means. I'm hoping, I don't want to go to all Joseph Campbell here, but we could. But and I'm curious what your field has to say about that too. But
Yeah.
because I know what a layman would say. Like right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but people still use Zoom to, stay sane. But we also use Zoom to, and we're gradually opening up, maybe safely, to do all these rituals and customs that we do, whether they're connected to a holiday or not.
Yeah.
That make sense?
Makes sense. And I concur, and I will have more to say about that in the.
I disagree. Let's change the thing.
Yeah, I'll have a lot more to say about that in the counselor's log, but it seemed like a good topic for us, Larry. I know to some degree, ritual also ties into the last couple episodes of Star Trek Discovery. So I think there's a lot of tie-ins here. This is also a time of year where a lot of people have rituals. Some are more secular rituals, some are more religious rituals, but it really doesn't matter. I'll speak to that in the counselor's log. It doesn't matter why you might engage in them. What matters is why it matters to you. That's kind of what's important about rituals. So, and I was actually surprised we haven't tackled this topic yet.
Me too.
Yeah. This is a good one for us.
And it's the holidays, and we've got our schedules are crazy. So, but everybody's schedules are crazy right now. So I thought it was a good time because that's part of it, taking time to do something. There's a comfort zone factor here, but it's also keeping your memory alive before you had iPhones. It was a way to keep memory alive. I'm right. And keep stories and customs and things.
Yeah. Just a few things. Cairo says, I saw Nichelle at Star Trek Las Vegas a few times. She's definitely special, and she always gave a lot of love to everyone, always seeing the person in everyone she met. We also heard from Charlotte, who said, I was in line for a photo op at Star Trek Las Vegas 2019 as Nichelle was wrapping up her photo op, and we all applauded for her as she was wheeled away. It felt really special. A lot of love coming in for Nichelle, and she has always been a real ambassador for Star Trek and also space. And and having more diversity in NASA as well. Scott says it was really special, and I loved getting to experience her family. I think Scott, you're probably talking about this
Yeah, Scott was
last
there
week's
live
event.
with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm glad you got to be there, Larry, and I'm glad Nichelle was able to have that experience too.
Mhm.
I know the pandemic has much delayed these kind of things. Um, yeah, and so a couple other things just to mention before we get into the show here. First is I know there's been a number of tornadoes that have struck a big part of the country. So we hope
December, which is global warming. People talk to me about global warming. I'm a Tornado Alley guy. This idea that we're having tornadoes in December is insane.
yeah.
But there we are.
So hope everyone who might be affected is okay, and we're and if you are affected, you might not be able to be here. You might not have electricity or internet. So we hope you're okay. So we wanted to talk about that, and then we also, Libby says rituals, and it's Glinda's birthday. How fitting!
Aw.
Happy annual return around the sun, Glinda. I hope. Have you figured out how to go back in time by going around
Had
the
a
sun?
slingshot?
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't that supposed to happen once you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you not go at warp factor? Maybe not. Maybe next time this year, Galinda, do it at warp.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Or get Superman to switch the rotation of the Earth. Or
Yeah.
that
That'll
way.
do it
Yeah.
too. That'll do it too. But happy
Crossing
birthday.
streams, that could be dangerous.
It can. It can. But we do it. We enjoy. We enjoy doing crossing the stream. So happy birthday, Glinda. Hope you are doing well. She says, "I'll try." Larry, where do we begin? So there's a lot of audience requests. I love everyone who's saying their favorite ritual is the naked Betazoid wedding ceremony.
I almost did a naked shoulders Luoxana for that, but yeah.
We had a few. Charlotte mentioned that. Zahir also said anything involving Betazoid wedding. That's great. Libby also mentioned the Betazoid wedding. What is it about the naked Betazoid wedding that?
It's a nice day for a Betazoid wedding.
Good one. Good one. If I knew any more lyrics to that song, I would join you. But that's the only line I know. That is the only line I know there. But the Betazoids actually have, not only do they have a lot of rituals, but we get to see a lot of their rituals. Like Scott mentions over here, the Betazoid bell for giving thanks for their food.
Dong. Yeah.
Wow, there were a lot of bell chimes in that meal that we saw. And so
There's a lot in that meal. Yeah.
there's a lot of that. But I mean, maybe this is a good jumping off point. Not only do we get to see a lot of rituals that the Betazoid people have, we get to learn a lot about them. But let's do a little bit of a deeper grab here, Larry. What is it about the Betazoid people that might allow them to have so many rituals that are a part of regular life, or is it something that speaks more to Luoxana?
Yes.
All right,
No.
page two.
I know no, I mean, I had the minute you said it, I remembered the Betazoid bell, which was, some of the stuff is like it's like all writing, especially Star Trek. Sometimes you have these really thought-provoking, bits that are meant to be a commentary on some aspect of our life and reflect us or whatever. And then sometimes you have like the gong for food. It was just done for comic effect, but it is. So now it's our job to, retcon that kind of. Or why do Betazoids get married? Is the nudity at a marriage ceremony meant to show that the couple has nothing to hide from each other and that they're totally, that they're completely vulnerable and there's no pretense and.
Yeah,
I mean, that's one thing, but then you think if they're Betazoids, they would know that anyway because they're telepathic. Like, who better to be totally stripped down and vulnerable than a telepathic?
Well, that might, yeah. Now that
Fantastic.
I've never thought about the naked Betazoid wedding ceremony in this much
Quite
detail.
that way.
Yeah, yeah. But if you think about wedding ceremonies, and they can be of different sizes, but in general, you are inviting the people that you are closest to, most comfortable with. And I can imagine in a Betazoid wedding ceremony. Now, this was all probably pre-smartphone. Nowadays, you'd probably turn in your. I don't know if they had much photography there, but there might be something about being so vulnerable and comfortable, not only with the person that you are about to marry, but also with your guests. You're inviting them, and you're bearing it all, showing that I have nothing to hide from you, and our friends and family are
Yeah.
bearing witness of
Or the
this.
greater world, right? Right.
Yeah, I think there's actually no, I would not want to partake in that. However, I think there is something very beautiful about that idea. And yeah, Betazoids can they have nothing really to hide from each other. But
Or, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I
well, I
just
was gonna say it could be a symbolic representation of of their intimacy, of how they actually have nothing to hide from each other. I think that's a pretty cool idea.
or they could be naked because they're telepathic, and they're like, well, you may think I have nothing to hide, but I'm really going to prove it beyond a
Yeah,
shadow of a doubt. Or I
yeah.
have, I'm showing you my all, my innermost everything, and you may think that because we do that every day. So I've got to go to an nth degree beyond every day,
To
which
the
is,
nth degree, Larry.
yeah, I know. It's
Good episode.
it's a Barclay has nothing to do with getting naked, but anyway.
Oh man, if you imagine if Barkley married a Betazoid person, he would be so anxious about that ceremony. But yeah, I think that's it's also one of the things with rituals is rituals communicate sort of who you are, and I can see the Betazoid people. They have so much of their culture is about intimacy. I don't mean sexual intimacy. I
Mhm.
mean psychological intimacy. So it makes sense that their wedding ceremony would really represent that. So yeah, it actually makes a ton of sense to me now that I think about it.
Mhm.
The
Well,
food,
I'm glad. You're welcome.
yes. Uh, you're welcome. From The Rock, another tie-in to Star Trek with the Star Trek Voyager, his first acting appearance. For all of those who are keeping count, and someone reminded me, who's reminding me that Wilson Cruz was also, yeah, Charlotte mentioned Wilson Cruz has also been in Rent, the not in the original
Right.
cast. We've got so many tie-ins going on, so many musical Star Trek tie-ins. The the
She said we have so many Italians, and I was like, what? Okay, sure.
we do have some Italians in
I'm
Star
sorry, I'm
Trek.
past all that. Okay.
We were talking about Betazoids and the food ceremony. So there is I don't have it on me, but one of in a lot of the newer treatments in cognitive behavioral therapy, there is something called mindfulness, which is really about being aware of yourself, being aware of your environment, being aware fully in these different spaces. And one of the things we sometimes use when we're practicing, we don't use it throughout an entire session with someone, but when we're practicing the skill, we do have a bell. And the bell, you chime the bell to bring awareness to moments where you're using judgments, where I would say, I'm drinking this coffee, and I might say, oh, this coffee tastes horrible. Well, that's a judgment. Horrible is a judgment. It's a quick shortcut that communicates you don't like it. And instead, what we try to make it a more mindful experience, can you describe it in words that are not judgmental? That I can taste it and go, this coffee is very hot, or this coffee is bitter. Those are more descriptions. So we use bells in those moments to bring awareness to judgments. So I can definitely see how that might happen.
Okay.
Would that happen
Game
in
show
every
judge,
meal?
right?
Kind
Like,
of a yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Nah, try again. I can definitely see how this would happen in a formal dinner or in certain meals. I don't see this happening in every meal. And what I think is also cool here with Luoxana and Deanna we see some diversity in adherence to rituals, to Betazoid customs and rituals, which is also true.
Well, some of that you got the generational, you know, tension in any family in any culture where the young aren't keeping up our our rituals, and it's, oh, they're so ritualistic. Well, that's the point. Well, I need to be and then you get older and you go, oh, I want something, I want to cling to that rock of stability. Okay, well, I'm out of my breaking away rebellious phase, and now I'm ready to embrace the culture and go back and find out those things I rebelled against when I was younger. Yeah.
And Deanna is she's half human, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's I think
Troy.
Yeah, so I think that has probably impacted the rituals that she does practice and the rituals that she doesn't practice. We know she's a big practicer of plexing. We know that is a proud tradition of hers that she's carried on.
I'm very impressed that you would even bring it up.
Oh, well, it's that time of year, Larry. You got to deck the halls with boughs of plexing.
The boughs of plexing.
La 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 la. Oh my gosh. All right. So we've talked Betazoids. Let's do if you.
I started off saying, well, there's all the cultural stuff that's a given, and we're talking about cultural stuff. But I mean, they're all, if you're talking about, I mean, why? But we can go down this list, and we will. But we talked about there about why would they have gotten started as a ritual? Like, what's the reason behind the ritual?
Yeah.
And then I sent you another. If we're talking token stuff here, we're talking Star Trek, by the book token stuff. I sent you another one with good old Worf there.
No, this is when you close your eyes and think of Worf Klingon ritual, this is the image that does come to mind.
I went for on the nose.
Yeah.
Most weeks I try to be a little more obscure, but I thought this is a week ritual. You can't. How do you get obscure about it? Well, you can. So,
hold on. I gotta recalibrate the view screen here. Viewer ahead.
Something happened with our. I'm like
three.
I'm having to get in the next room, so I'm like on the equal head size with you. But okay.
Boom. This image. Klingon pain sticks.
I walk through the river of blood.
Larry, your Klingon needs a little bit of work. You.
I'm so shocked.
It sounds a little bit more like and not enough. You need more gramba in your.
Well, sorry, I didn't have my teeth in for that. Okay.
Yeah, that would help. I think that would help.
I walk through the river of blood.
Better. Okay. Much improved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm off the clock, but okay.
So, but getting back to the show here, we're talking about. You brought up a really great question here. Like, why do these rituals emerge, and what do they say about the people who practice them? I think that is from the writer's perspective of why they built in these kind of things. Like when do we start to see Klingon rituals? We see a little bit of them in the movies. The Klingons we see a little bit more from their perspective. Are there many Klingon rituals in TOS? I don't think so.
No. They're just like, being cardboard villains. I'm trying to think if you would even,
Like maybe Star Trek 3, we start to see it a little bit more. Definitely not motion picture.
You see some cultural norms, but they're just reflecting like what have our barbaric or fascist military cultures done in the past, like having the captain of the ship above his people around him. I mean, there's some cultural things, but I don't know about rituals so much.
No, yeah, you're right. There's no, we don't see rituals in 3.
I mean, in 6, they think that that a big dinner between enemies is a way to, adversaries is a way to find understanding.
Guess who's coming to dinner? Yeah, I think it's really TNG that we see it, and really vis-a-vis Worf. And so this moment, I think this moment is really great to get at that question that you had, is like, why do these rituals emerge in
you
cultures?
Missed that. I was. Yeah. Now that's a ritual, yelling to Stovacor.
Yeah, as Cairo says, I think Klingon rituals really only came in through Worf.
Hmm.
So these Klingon pain sticks. What a descriptive name, too, Larry. Pain stick. I mean, yeah, as a psychologist would say, there's a lot of surface validity to that term. It means exactly what you think it means.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of on the nose a
Yeah,
little bit. Yeah.
I love it. But here's a culture, this warrior based culture, where they've biologically evolved to be these ultimate predators on their planet. Hunting, vanquishing your enemy, honor are really big parts of this culture. We know that honor is a big part of a lot of cultures where a functioning justice system might not be working. Honor is often used as a way of keeping people in check. So I can see how in a warrior species, and knowing how much division there is based on season 1 of Star Trek Discovery, that like some of these subspecies are the ones that kind of emerged up top. Like we can see how honor would be used to mediate a lot of that conflict. But this is a culture where being strong and showing how much pain you can tolerate, this is a very desirable thing. And so here in this moment, we have the Klingons saying, like, we can take this. I am strong enough to bear this pain. It's a way of showing each other, like, I am Klingon, I am warrior, I am strong, I can tolerate this. I'm not scared of this.
Yeah, I hadn't checked it, but I mean, he has a whole ritualistic, I hadn't done this, but we can find it easy enough. He has a whole when I said I walked through the river of blood, that's the one bit I remember as he's walking through the trench. There's a whole ritualized script that Worf says. He's got it memorized, because of course he does. And of course, I'm not going to find it.
Well,
Anyway,
oh
it's
yeah,
up.
yeah. While you're looking for that,
I'm trying to do this on the run coolly, and of course, I didn't do it.
while you're looking for that, Larry, Karen's got a great point here. Worf is also learning his culture. Rituals are a great place to start, and I think you're right on here, Karen.
Well, I would double. He's learning a lot, but he's also feeling. First off, he's not of two cultures biologically, but he is culturally. Like,
Yes.
He's raised by humans. So Worf's entire life is, he's the Klingon that has to be more Klingon than a Klingon. Like,
More Klingon than Klingon.
every time you see him with the Klingon, they're kind of like eye rolling, and they're like, okay, like we will sing the most Christmas carols, we will put the most ornaments on the tree, we'll get the most fireworks on the 4th of July. I mean, it's
Klingons
like he's
do
got to
not
do everything
laugh.
the most ut. Yeah.
Klingons do not smile. Klingons do not pass gas. Yeah, they're very. He's like the most. Oh my gosh! Have you ever hung out with anyone who's singing great songs of the Targ they just killed? These are very joyous people. Worf. Not till Jadzia do we really get Worf loosened up a little bit. But yeah, he's someone who is learning the customs of his people, and his people means both humans, Earth, the Federation. It also means Klingons, the Klingon Empire, and Klingon ways. And so he's trying to learn how can he best uphold both of these different aspects of his identity in much the same way that Spock does, in much the same way that Odo has to navigate that. He has to thread that needle, in a very I don't know if what's it called when the founders meld with each other.
The Great Link.
Yeah, but when two of them do it, it's not melding. It's joining when they join. Yeah. I don't know if we can call that a ritual or not.
Words. Yeah.
But there are these moments where Odo is really torn between, look, this is what my people do. This is how we communicate. This is how we interact. And Kira is saying, you just gave her access to everything you know. So this is a great Star Trek. I don't know if I want to say a tradition, but it is a great theme throughout Star Trek. Is characters trying to navigate their different aspects of their identity, and we often see that through rituals. And Worf is really a wonderful example of that.
Yeah. Well, the Age of Ascension at the time, I forgot until I stopped to think about it. There's not a lot of scripting. He says, "Today I am a warrior. I must show you my heart. I travel the river of blood." But the Ascension really is like, it's a rite of passage, and it's his second time, so I guess you have to repeat it or whatever. I doubt that he failed it, but it's a lot like the Kaswan on Vulcan. It's the maturity rituals to show that it's boy to man, or we do and girl to woman, because didn't T'Pol have to do the Kaswan too as well, I think. But anyway, and probably Klingons as well. But it's a maturity ritual, which different cultures do, and a lot of Earth cultures have something like that. Jews in the bar mitzvah, I mean, if nothing else. So that whole thing about from child to adult ceremony, that's what the Age of Ascension. That's what the Ascension. Only Klingons prove it by how much pain can you take? Yeah.
Yeah, and Charlotte said, but today is a good day for pie, to which Nathaniel responded, blood pie. So there is that.
Blood pie. Only the best blood pie.
And, Libby says here, Worf's adoptive family may have helped him with rituals. Rituals are often among the easiest things for someone to find out about another culture. I think you're right, Libby. From my impression, it seemed like his parents were very much supportive of him learning about his Klingon heritage and Klingon identity. They did probably the best they could, at least on Earth. Mm-hmm. So there is that. And Charlotte says Martok also helps Worf loosen up as he gets to see how a Klingon who grew up in a culture lives day to day up close. Mm-hmm. And not just any Klingon, but Martok is like, he's up there.
Right.
And so it's like, if it's okay for Martok to loosen up in these ways, I guess it's okay for me too.
Well, that's like the first Klingon aside from, Kalar and whatever, he's like, it's the first Klingon he sees that's not a life and death situation. It's not, it's not Kern, it's not Gowron, it's not Duras, it's not, yeah. It's every other thing has been some kind. It's the first buddy Klingon he's been able to have. So
yeah, I would say Martok is the first great, fully fleshed out Klingon character we see in Star Trek. Like, we've seen a lot of Klingons, but a Klingon who grew up on Kronos, who's been a warrior his whole life. Like, he's a career warrior. You know what I mean? He's been successful, and we
got his card in high school. Yeah,
and he's not a stereotype villain or anything like that. He is someone we get to know over a long period of time, except for that period where he's a changeling. But other than that, like, we get to know him pretty well. Martok is really great in that, and we contrast this, as Charlotte says, B'Elanna and Day of Honor. So both B'Elanna and Worf have some complicated heritage. Worf more culturally. B'Elanna, she's half Klingon, and she's got more complicated feelings about her Klingon half than I think Worf does. Whereas Worf goes, I'm going to double down and go 100% on everything Klingon. B'Elanna's like, actually, I don't really like this part of myself, and it takes her a very long time to get to a place where she's able to better integrate aspects of her Klingon identity.
Yeah, I'm catching up in the chat here. I'm only a half hour behind. But back at 10:28, Galinda said, we were talking about how we're drowning in anniversaries. She said, yes, celebrate everything. Happy 12:28 p.m. That's the way New December's felt. Well, and Zahir had something here at 10:27. He's laughing. He's trying to be not spoilery. Unnamed episode where unnamed president of reunified Vulcan Romulan Federation helps unnamed Kelpian captain in shared meditation ritual. But yeah, sharing another Vulcan meditation bit with Saru. in the episode that just happened, all is possible. Tarina is the president of Navarre now, which is the reunified Vulcan and Romulus cultures. But yeah. And then I saw online this week somebody had a combo of they mentioned that the nun the warrior nun that stabbed I can never think of their name, Kawat.
The Zhat Vash?
No, not the. I always want to jump to the Zhat Vash. That's the Romulan faction of the Tal Shiar that was looking out for the animated metallic serpent people in the cloud. The Wok Navak. I can never think of it.
The Wok Navak.
It's only been Elnor's sect.
That sounds delicious. I want a Wok Navak.
Yeah, I want some with some gok and some rokek blood pie.
Fresh gok.
I'm totally blown away here. What was I trying to say?
I don't know.
Yeah,
you were saying something from Picard.
Klingon, they had a split screen. Somebody did a great meme where
the Quat Malat.
Thank you, the Quat Malat.
Yeah.
Javina, I can think of her. So the woman who was fulfilling her Quat Malat, defending of a hopeless ritual, at the time commits a murder on a Starfleet officer that she regrets. And spoilers. And the end of the episode, it's kind of quasi-honorable, but she still did kill somebody. It's kind of like Jarrod and Picard. And they're talking about holding her accountable. And basically, she's remanded back to the Navarians, to the Navarre, the Vulcan Romulan, recombination. And in this episode that just happened, they ask about what happened to her. And she's basically like, well, she's been. If this was like 50s Stalin or something, or Chairman Mao, it was like, well, she's been sent off for re-education, but she's been sent to, meditation, extreme meditation for a while. And they were laughing. There's a scene in the Wej Douge episode of Lower Decks where they talk about, well, the spunky Vulcan is punished by being sent to meditation class. So it was kind of a funny meme about how the murdering nun in Discovery has been sent to some hardcore meditation therapy. And they were laughing about how, if you mess up in Vulcan society, you get sent to meditation class. But in this case, the meditation routine was helpful for Saru. And it was also kind of an interesting bond between what's going on there with the two of them. But anyway, we're getting very modern there. I started this, and we can do this. We've talked about betazoids. I know there's Ferengi. I mean, the whole Ferengi thing of because this is the thing. Like, what's a ritual and what's a custom?
I'm gonna get to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you only see it once, but when the boys go home to see Moogie, even though it's their mom, they put some black. There's an offering box apparently at the front door of every Ferengi home.
Yeah,
and you leave, it's like, well, is that like a little cultural custom? Is that a ritual? If we do it every day and it's a little thing, I don't know.
Well, let me speak to that now, because
like Ferengis have things like that. I mean, everybody.
No, it's a really good question. And so let me speak.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh man, maybe too much coffee this morning, Dr. Ali. I don't know. So let's answer that question. So what's a ritual? What's a habit? What's a custom? What's the difference? What's the matter with you?
I sent some more images for things. I started this day off saying it's one thing to say, well, it's a cultural, it's like a Klingon thing or a Vulcan thing, but there's also we have personal rituals and habits too.
So let me answer that question. So the key thing about a ritual seems to be the order in which you do it. The way that you seem to do it really matters. So if it needs to be done a certain way,
that thing you do. Okay.
You doing that thing you do, breaking my heart into a million dilithium crystals. So
meteorite shards.
Okay. Yes, better diet.
If you're Russian.
So if it really matters the way it's done, then it's a ritual. And so we see that with definitely with the Age of Ascension, pain sticks. Like this has to be done a certain way. But we can also see it in other rituals. So, for example, we haven't talked about this yet, but oh man, yeah, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. So, First Contact Day. Something that is we see this in Voyager, but we also see this in the shorts leading up to Star Trek Picard. That if it needs to be celebrated on a certain day, that can also make it a ritual. So if it has to be done in a certain way or on a certain day,
we call those anniversaries.
Yeah, anniversaries. If you observe them, and then you might have more rituals associated with them. Like, what do you often do on this day to observe this anniversary? That can be a ritual. And then there's the Next Generation poker game.
Well, that's what I was going to say. This is like a personal thing. It has nothing to do with culture or anything external.
And I think this is a really good example because rituals can feel so dogmatic, like it has to be this way. But for some people,
liturgical?
Yes. For some people, playing poker with your friends every Thursday night, for some people, this can be a ritual. Mm-hmm. And even among some of those people, they might not see it as a ritual. They're like, oh, this is just something I do. But if I miss a week, it's not a big deal. But to someone else in the group, hey, you missed that week, man. What's going on?
Missed your chair. You gave up your chair.
Yeah. This often happens in role-playing games, whether it's D&D, Star Trek Adventure, whatever you play. Some people take it, for them, this is a ritual. This is something that has to happen. And for other people, they might be like, I can miss this week. And then other people get offended, and now you have a big thing, and see our episode about navigating conflict for how to deal with that. But rituals don't have to be this big cultural thing. In my family, we do ice cream on Fridays. Every Friday night, we have ice cream. And this started not as like you know what? I really like to do a family ritual. It started more as my daughter really started liking ice cream, and we needed to put some limits on it. So we said, Fridays, that's our ice cream night. And what it's become, Larry, is this thing that we really look forward to. And it's a way of like celebrating the start of the weekend. And it's also, if we don't do it, a couple of times we've like forgotten or ran out of ice cream, and my daughter's like, but it's Friday. And she starts having the Shatner reaction. We're supposed to eat ice cream, Dad. Where's the ice cream? And so it can be as simple as that too.
I was just trying to make a short term for that. Shat reacts or something. Yeah. No, I know exactly. I thought of two things. For the years before I was married, when I was like in my 20s, my friend Cody and we had movie night every week. We always, was it Tuesday or Thursday? Either Tuesday night or Thursday night, because Thursday would have been the night before all the new movies came in, which may have been part of it, last minute chance to grab a movie. Anyway, every week we went to see, and we'd try to go to matinees and save a buck. But that was that. And then also later, the other end of later in life, as the kids got older, into high school, busy doing different things, and even like out of high school, but a couple of them still living with us. Sunday evening became, forget Sunday noon and afternoon, but Sunday night became, we had family dinner every week. And if we didn't see each other during the week, we at least sat down and had dinner Sunday night, and it became a thing. And Janet would always try to come up with something. And we'd always remember what we had. She would always jot down how everybody liked the things she did. And sometimes it would be somebody's favorite, and sometimes it would be something new. But the point was, if we were all so busy, we barely saw each other, that's how we would stay in touch before everybody totally moved off on their own.
Yeah. And they definitely can change over time, and sometimes rituals sort of come and go, but I think that's a really good example of one. Glinda had a great example here too. Custom is that we celebrate Halloween. Ritual is how we celebrate it. That's a great way. Anytime like things need to be done in a certain order. So, for example, like in America, if you trick or treat, you're wearing a costume, ringing the doorbell, saying trick or treat, and then you're given candy, right? Like there's a very specific order to things, and that could be considered a ritual. But if it doesn't matter how you do that, the order, then that's more of a habit. It doesn't really matter. And then you can understand how like for some people things feel more like a ritual. For the exact same person, it might not. It's just something to do. It feels like a habit.
Well, that's the way that's kind of the point I think with the Voyager. They're celebrating First Contact Day, which everyone in the Federation is doing, but I love how they had a jukebox in the corner. Like that was one thing that
Ooby dooby.
they were lucky enough to have a Vulcan, but other than that, but the other thing is, look, like there's Neelix making the food and serving, and he make your Neelix jokes, but as a morale officer, he was always trying to, if it was B'Elanna depressed or Tuvok depressed or something, he's not even from their quadrant, much less from their culture, but he was always trying to find a little something, not so much to bring somebody back from the brink of suicide, but I mean, he was always trying to find a way to bond, and also for everybody to learn each other's cultures and enjoy to some degree. But First Contact Day has nothing to do with him. And Naomi Wildman, well, her mom is human, but her dad wasn't. I think Katarians. Well, there's 3 different Katarians, but anyway, there's the potential to have people aboard 7-ish. But there's people aboard that they're not. It's like when you're an immigrant, when somebody's an immigrant and like you're doing Thanksgiving as a thing, and you've got all kinds of cultures from countries that don't even they may have a feast of harvest or something, but a lot of them have no concept of what an Americanized Thanksgiving looks like, because it's mainly about the food and getting together, and they find ways to blend in and make it their own. It grows and evolves, and people who weren't brought up in that culture, some things are easy to, it's not, strictly religious. And even Christmas has gotten, morphed into just people give gifts, no matter what they believe or how strongly they believe it. But I like that bit about the Voyager doing First Contact, because they're just doing whatever the hell Neelix had in the fridge or something.
Yeah, I like this.
As long as you have the jukebox, apparently that's how you
I do like this example, and I like this example because I do think it. Think it.
I started to say that's good because I got nothing from the modern shows. I mean, I'm sure I could have come up with something, but I was like, they're serialized. They have no time for fun rituals.
Well, you do know what they say about time, Larry. It's the fire in which we burn.
Which has special meaning to the producer of a serialized 10-episode show.
It's true. There's a few examples that our community brought up that really tie into what's happening with Voyager here. I am sure that these people celebrated First Contact Day when they're in the Alpha Quadrant in a different way than eating whatever kind of sandwiches Neelix. I don't even know if those are. What are it looks like tortillas or naan on some kind of eggplant dish with a few leaves as garnishes. I don't know what that is. It's probably spicy.
It ain't Hasperat. I know
it's
that.
not Hasperat. No, Kira would not be interested in eating that. But this is not how they probably typically observe First Contact Day. I am sure for many Starfleet officers, First Contact Day is a big deal. And they might celebrate it by doing something, getting together. I think there's probably an ultimate way of celebrating First Contact Days, probably making it out to Bozeman, Montana. I'm sure there's a lot of Starfleet officers who do that on First Contact Day. Yes, you got to see the statue. There's a statue of you right over here, and you're reaching out into the sky. I went
nice, Jordy.
Cochrane High School. Gotta take a leak. Leak. I don't detect any leak. Oh, leak.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty funny.
Oh, it's a boy, Jordy. Sometimes. Okay.
Yeah. Um, I was saying something substantial.
Couldn't be. That today you talking about first contact rituals,
Yes,
first
yes, yes, yes,
contact
yes, yes, yes,
Starfleet
yes.
officers.
Thank you, Larry. All right, so this is not eating Neelix's whatever that is, his non eggplant dish. This is not how they would celebrate First Contact Day. And I think that's something that's happened to all of us because of the circumstances that are out of control. We've been limited in our ability to engage in the rituals that we would normally partake in. So we've got to, and because of the pandemic, because of travel limitations, all of that sort of stuff. Libby says over here, last Christmas Eve, my newish Christmas Eve ritual of getting to church around 10 p.m. to get robes for visiting choir singers, warming up for the 11 p.m. service, and then singing wasn't happening. I was so uneasy about it that I ended up driving to the church around 10:30 just to sit in my car in front of the church. I couldn't get to where I normally park in the parking lot. We are singing this year. So that's one example of Libby wasn't able to partake in a ritual that she usually does because of limitations related to the pandemic. And then over here, we also see Cairo. Me going for karaoke every Monday and Tuesday night was pretty much a ritual up until the pandemic. I still wear t-shirts on those days that are music related, just as I did then. Cairo, my favorite thing to do on my birthday is karaoke. I got to do it. My birthday is in February. I got to do it in 2020 before America really shut down, but that was the last time I got to do it, and I missed that. I know what you mean. We all have these things that sort of ground us, and that we often do on a regular basis. And for a lot of us, it's our ability to do those things has been really limited by the pandemic. Larry, besides the time you came up back in June, we haven't seen each other in person, whereas we typically would have at some kind of convention by now. So there's a lot of ways in which this stuff has been really disrupted, and I think the First Contact Day at Voyager represents that.
Yes.
Let's go. Cairo's.
I'm trying to think what I sent. I sent you something.
Cairo's example made me think of another one that I want to bring up, which is this. Oh, hold on. Having some view screen problems over here. Stand by.
The viewer's been wonky today.
It has been. In addition to the operator of the viewer.
I'm literally sitting about 3 feet behind the camera here to get in sync with you.
Well, here we go. So here's
talk about personal customs and rituals.
Yeah. I wanted to speak to this example right over here. I really like this one. And so this is Captain or Commander Cisco at this point. Is it still Commander?
Oh yeah, he's probably Commander because he's bearded.
Beardless, no goatee, and still has the hair. And so this is him inviting the senior staff over for dinner. What were the circumstances around this one? This is from Equilibrium?
There? Because it wasn't the main plot, so him just doing it, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Not every moment is a deep dive, Ali. I mean, you want to get into Cisco's psyche. His dad was a cook, a chef. Did you know that?
His dad is a chef.
It's in the DNA, so okay.
But here's the difference. Okay, so here's the difference between habit, custom, ritual again. So we all eat. We all have meals. But if there are specifics associated with it that have to happen in a certain way. For example, sometimes people do a bigger thing for like a Sunday meal. They have people over. They do things like that. For my family growing up, we often had dinners at different time depending on when everyone would come home. But Saturday mornings was really important. We all ate breakfast together. And my parents would always go out and get fresh bread from the local bakery. And that was a part of the ritual. It's Saturday. we need to do XYZ. We need to make these things. We need to get these things. We will eat at this time in this way. Like that is when it becomes a ritual. So often families do have these kind of things. And I get the impression that for Cisco, growing up, like there were probably a lot of rituals associated with having these family meals, having people over, making food for one another. I think the Cisco's probably did a lot of that.
Yeah. I just sit here thinking about all like we're talking about how there is a holiday or an event, but everybody doing it differently, and I'm just thinking about how we handled like when I was a kid and I had both grandparents and big families, especially one side was huge, and how we would have to split the day. And Thanksgiving and Christmas both, we had noonish at my dad's family at Nemecek's, and then afternoonish was always at Rental at my mom's family side. But even more than that, then when my older brother got married, my older sister-in-law, now her family always did their present giving at Christmas on Christmas Eve, which was like, what?
Yes,
It was like,
yeah,
so
yeah.
weird. But then I found out lots of people do that, and part of that is the ritual evolved because there were so many things to cram in, and some of it spilled into Christmas Eve, or whatever, or somebody has to work on Christmas Day, so they do it on Christmas. But
Right.
it's an example of how you can again attack something as common as, well, not as common, but as common as Christmas, but people go at it in different, even that go at it in different ways. So yeah, you talking about your family adapting started making me think about how families do that, and even if it's in clusters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It can be as simple as like when I was a kid, I would always go grocery shopping with my mom, and at the very end of the experience, she would always get me candy from that checkout aisle. Now, like how much of that is a ritual? How much of that was a habit? For me as a kid, it felt like a ritual. Like this has to happen. This is just like this is sacred. I need that Snickers bar. But my mom, it probably didn't feel like a ritual. I'm guessing it just felt like a habit. And so there's a lot of diversity. I think your example of when do people give gifts to each other, if they observe Christmas, like at what time, that's a good example of it. Larry, there's one more big canon example that we had prepped, and then there's a lot of comments that I want to just kind of run through.
Yeah.
Movie night. This is something we have seen on Enterprise. We've also seen it come back a little bit with Discovery. Discovery has been
Yeah.
doing a bit of a nod to this as well.
But I was thinking the Discovery moment was more like they wanted to bring everybody like it was a specific thing, like it was a healing move.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it kept up or not.
We don't know.
But
Yeah.
but Enterprise was definitely a ritual. It was
Yeah.
definitely a weekly. Was it Tuesday night? Was it Tuesday night that was their movie night? Anyway.
I don't know. I don't know which night was must-see TV on Enterprise, but and we see Enterprise had a few of these. The senior staff. Well, it's not really senior staff. It was Trip, T'Pol, and Archer who would have these meals together as well. The great awkward meals of the three of them together. But I really like that tradition that they had.
Get your Velcro lesson. Yeah.
I like that because it was they're not necessarily the senior staff, but they are. It's important to Archer to cultivate a connection between the three of them. He and Trip are close friends and have been close friends for a long time. We learn all of that backstory. And it's important to him that to Paul's relationship is sort of elevated to that same level. I love that ritual that they have this. They have it every week, and I love that T'Pol shows up. We haven't really talked about Vulcans too much. I mean, Amok Time, of course, is probably one of the first great rituals we see in Star Trek, and there's a lot of comments from our community talking about Amok Time. But I think T'Pol really respects that this is a cultural custom, that these strange earthling humans have. And I am going to respect this custom, whether it is this movie night, and check out all the shade that T'Pol is throwing at that Starfleet officer. She doesn't necessarily want to be there.
I think she's rattling off something at Trip behind her.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
what's going on. I could see that.
Yeah.
And Phlox.
That extra is not getting paid enough to have that much shade thrown at her.
And Phlox is, his approach to, he kind of takes the Anthony Bourdain approach to other cultures. Like, my body's an amusement park. Like, I am going to participate in every cultural experience I could find, right?
An amusement park.
But T'Pol does respect rituals, customs, and T'Pol is not a character that gets enough credit for everything that she does in Enterprise. So, Larry, can we jump through some examples that came up in our community, or do you want to move forward in segments?
Sure. Well, we're at 11, almost 11:30. So
let's jump forward, and then we can come back to a lot of the examples.
Although, can I say real quick, Nathaniel at 10:38 had a comment here about Moist Vessel on Lower Decks about a negative presentation of a ritual, a crewman who appropriates the rituals of other cultures. The guy that wanted to ascend. Yeah. Appropriates it in order to look. Oh, look at me being very multicultural, and shows how spiritual concepts can be affected by consumer culture. Well,
so I mean, we're sitting here in between in America. We have Thanksgiving and we have Christmas, and both are examples of a lot of that. Thanksgiving is really a holiday that is a painful day for a lot of people, as it does represent the beginning of the genocide of a lot of people who lived here in North America prior to the European settlers. And then we have Christmas, which has a very long, complicated history. If you go back pre-Christianity, as a solstice festival, going back all the way, there's a lot of these traditions go back to the Romans, and how Christianity sort of enveloped a lot of those traditions. So it's what Nathaniel...
evolve long and prosper.
Yeah. Yeah. What Nathaniel mentioned here is something that we definitely experience in... we're living during that time right now, between November and December in the United States. Okay, so Larry, I want to move forward.
Oh, I'm sorry.
here.
I got to say one more thing. A lot of people are talking about Rocky Horror and how that was a ritual.
Oh,
in the
totally missed
in the
that.
70s and the 80s, every Friday or Saturday night, the midnight show in Satellite Twin in Norman had Rocky Horror every night at midnight for 47 years. Yeah. And people would go, and and all the back and forth, the call and response interaction. Anyway, and that was part of the ritual feeling, and you were in a thing.
And Karen's got a great comment here about having meals with staff. Movie night parties are military based, and think about the show MASH and other movie nights.
That's right. Yeah.
These help keep ties to cultures and countries. It's a great point, Karen. Very true. So let's open up that counselor's log. This is the part of the show where I do a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the things that we've been talking about here. And I've kind of already previewed a lot of this. I've talked about what makes a habit, what makes a ritual. Rituals really feel like they need to be done in a certain way. The order matters. For some people, watching Star Trek is a habit. For some people, it's a ritual. And if you always watch Star Trek at a certain time or a certain place, it might feel more like a ritual. Or if you need to watch Star Trek in a certain way, some people are like, nah, I just want to put on an episode, whatever I feel like. Other people are like, well, no, I'm going through it in a more ritualistic way. I'm going through an order series. I have my way of doing things. Friends of the show Mission Log are going through every episode of Star Trek to get the morals, meanings, and messages. but they go through in order. You know, if
Yeah.
Mission Log came out with an episode where they just jumped to Enterprise or on Deep Space Nine right now, that would
Yeah.
be they'd be
Whiplash.
breaking the ritual of the show. But what's funny is they have their second show, Mission Log Live, where they kind of do whatever they want. Um, we all have these different kind of rituals. Larry, I had my notes all prepped for the ways in which the pandemic has disrupted our rituals. Rituals have a way of communicating to other people, this is who I am. This is what I believe. This is what's important to me. When I haven't really talked about this much in the show, but in 2019 is when my family moved from New York City here to Northern California. And when we moved, we had no idea of COVID. We moved with a commitment that my wife and I made that every year we would return to New York so our daughter does not forget New York. And so that we're able to, maintain these connections with the city and with the people that we're very close to. And that was going to be like a ritualistic thing. Every year, we are going to do our New York City trip. And we were planning to do it in May because that's our favorite time of year in New York. It has not happened. It did not happen in 2020. Yeah. I was hoping it would happen in 2021. I was hoping my daughter would be vaccine eligible by now. She's 4, so she's just missing the ability to get vaccinated. It hasn't happened. Hopefully it'll happen next year. But a lot of our rituals have been disrupted. Handshakes. For some people, handshakes are a ritual. For other people, it's a habit. It comes from this strange tradition of losing your daggers and showing that you're not a threat. Is that something that will persist in time after the pandemic? Is it something that won't? We don't know. But in general, rituals are related to a lot of positive outcomes. Rituals have a way of communicating your identity. They also have a way of bonding us together. If we just made up some silly ritual, like, for example, maybe every Saturday morning, Saturday morning, we get together, we talk about Star Trek, we make our joke about Doctor this and Doctor that, and then we sign off with live long and prosper. That's a ritual we just made. But people like engaging in rituals. People like doing rituals together. It does make them feel better. It makes them feel bonded. And that's a wonderful thing. Rituals can also exclude people.
I was going to say there's a dark side to ritual.
Yes.
The gatekeeping side.
Yes.
The Sorella, right? Martok's wife overseeing.
Yes. Great example.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way,
beat you over the head with the ritual.
Yeah, if you're not doing it right, or if you don't know the right way to do the secret handshake, rituals can be very exclusive and excluding. Which can really make other people feel not so good, and it can make a very high barrier to entry to joining this experience and joining this group. The other thing with rituals on a personal level, rituals can become more obsessive compulsive, and they can become a problem for people. If rituals start to make it hard for you to live your life and do all the other things that you need to do, if they start taking up so much time or so much headspace that you're not able to focus and manage your other responsibilities, then they become a problem. So in general, they seem to be a wonderful, great thing that can help us feel better. They can provide some normalcy. They can really help ground you. A lot of athletes, Larry, engage in rituals right before they have to perform. And it's a way of calming their nerves.
Do actors.
So do actors, absolutely. Absolutely. Before they go on stage, before they go on set, absolutely. And in those ways, rituals are a wonderful thing. They take your mind off the performance, they bring down your anxiety, they ground you, and all of these things can be really, really great. And they can also, rituals can help immerse you. More ritualistic eating is related to more satisfaction. So if people have rituals that they engage in before they eat food, like a tea ceremony. I don't know if you've ever partaken in a tea ceremony, but if you do something like that, you tend to experience it in a deeper way. So these things can be really good as long as they're not excluding other people and not getting in the way of your life. My wife and I used to have a ritual on Thanksgiving weekend. We would watch the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, beginning to end. And it was a lot of fun. And then we had a daughter, and then we didn't have time. So maybe that ritual will return. But the other thing to remember here, too, is...
You're busy not going to New York.
Yeah, I know. Rituals can also change with time, and that's totally okay. So I think I'll leave it at that for now. I'll talk a little bit more about what to do when we get to the away mission. But that's kind of where, big picture, I wanted to talk about rituals.
That's big picture, yeah. Well, you want to do K3?
I always want to do K3. K3, this is the part of the show where Larry does a deeper dive into Star Trek history, Star Trek canons, things that we might not be aware of.
Wow, an introduction. I'm so honored. Okay. Well, this was easy. I mean, I had a lot of examples, but if my part of the little niche part of the show here is taking our theme of the week and looking at the real world background making of Star Trek behind the scenes, a lot of things, Rich, some things come in from the industry. Some things are very individual. So I had a couple of topics I'd throw out. And one of the ritual habits that almost every production engages in, well, there's gift giving and all that, but is to mark an anniversary-ish in a ritualistic way is the wrap party, which is, in theater, it's a strike party. Or so we used to call a strike party. But no, the wrap party. And I was, privileged to go to a few after we got out to LA, some of the latter Star Trek ones, the Berman era ones. And so I got a couple of images here. One was that was very memorable to me was the DS9 finale wrap party. Of course, you have a wrap party to wrap every year. And then the last one are, really memorable. Oh, the first thing I put up was the invitation. So, even at times they become the production office goes and finds a place and different. I mean, the season 1 wrap party of Voyager was at Hollywood Park on Mother's Day, which was kind of wild. But they did this circus theme. I think the art staff was really bored.
No, this is an amazing invitation here.
They did this circus theme. And this was memorable because this was Janet's last year. And it was out at the carousel at the pier at Santa Monica, which I guess rents out for parties. So right for Future's End had just happened, was where they.
Oh, cool.
This was just happened at the beginning. This was in May or whatever, and that had been shot in July. But anyway, that's the invitation. But as far as an actual event, it's everybody's gone through the trenches together now. This DS9 finale, the photographers are kind of. Have you got that one?
Yeah, I want to make sure I get the right one. I think it's this one.
The wall of people looking at camera. Not that one.
No. Okay, here we go. Oh, here it is. Yes.
It's the DS9 one. Yeah, there you go. So, on one hand, you think,
this is season 7 wrap party.
Yeah, this is the finale.
Yeah.
Finale. So everybody from little Hannah down there. And then you got Ira and Michael Piller right behind him, and then Rick Berman right behind Penny.
And is that Terry Farrell in the back too?
Yes, Terry, Terry was there. It was really nice, which was interesting. It had been a year since the let go. I was really intrigued to see that she was there and celebrating, and I'm glad. I'm glad she was. All intents and purposes, it was not intensive. By the way, it's not intensive purposes. It's intense and purpose. But anyway, everybody getting together. But what a wrap party is really about, it's not like a red carpet thing. The other pictures I've got are from the Enterprise wrap party, and somebody was up in the rafters. This was at the Hollywood Roosevelt after they redecorated, which I hated. It's all brown and drab. It used to be fun and touristy, and now it's. I'm
thinking that's this one.
There's a couple I sent you.
Yes.
Yeah. But a lot of, if you really start looking, you might. I sent you 2, right?
Yes.
There's another one.
Here comes the other one.
But there's a lot of crew people there and their spouses. Now this one, That's me 50 pounds ago, right there in the tan shirt in the middle, talking to Tim
Oh, I
Gaskell.
see you. You're right there
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
with
yeah.
your hand on someone's
Yeah,
shoulder.
that's Tim Gaskell, who some people might know used to be work at StarTrek.com, worked in licensing, editing books. But right across, so right up from me in this angle in the light blue shirts, Von Armstrong,
Oh
and
yeah.
right behind me is LeVar, who directed several times on Enterprise. LeVar and his wife talking to somebody I can't make it up. But anyway, it's a wrap party is everybody. No, it's not just the glamour people like the DS9 shot. That was a photographer finding them. There's a lot of mixing because it's very egalitarian. You know, everybody's all there. Everybody made it through the trenches together, kind of a thing every year. And the finale party is everybody made it to the end, and it's a bittersweet time unless you've got a movie deal coming in 3 months, like Next Gen had when they wrapped. They were exhausted.
I,
But everybody else, it's like a lot of things. It's like weddings and funerals. It's like it's an end of an era when it's the finale wrap party. It's like the end of an era, and these people that work together for several, a year or several years, aren't going to be back that way together. And I mean, most famously, that all got marked. DS9 did when Ira talked about the whole and the way that and the theme that came through in the documentary, what we left behind, and the name of the finale was really also about the show was ending, and it had, unlike Next Gen and the original cast, they had no movie coming, so it was really they knew it, but they didn't care because they did it their way, and we're proud of it. So anyway, but
you've got two more.
So that's an institutional ritual
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And then I've got a couple of personal
Yes.
pictures. So on the
Yes.
personal ritual, when Gene died, Majel made it a point, and that was in '91. So DS9 was about to start. After that, Majel made it a point. Gene Roddenberry's widow made it a point to always go down on the opening day of film, the first day of filming on a new series, and the last day when they wrapped. So I got to see one of those, which was the last day of. She was at the DS9 date, not the finale. Well, she was at the finale too, the wrap party. But on the finale day of shooting, the Vic's bar thing with everybody in the audience, all the writers and extras out of makeup and all that, she was there that day too. But on the very last day was very bittersweet because there was no more Star Trek coming. And I threw a couple of shots
For Enterprise, the very last day of Enterprise.
Yeah, for
shooting.
Enterprise, the last day of Enterprise, when we had the guest day that I was in the scene for. So this is Terry Croker, the director, and Manny Cotto in his Admiral uniform, and Major. So there's Lily, who's now Lily Rossi, back there over, and Doug Drexler standing there with Rod and Majel coming down to talk, and you can see the red seats back there of the scene.
Oh yeah,
that everybody was sitting in. Yeah, but then the next one is Majel with. There's one other one I sent because I was trying to put them together. Yeah. So that's Rick and Jonathan there because he was, being Frakes in the holiday, and Rod realizing I'm sneaking. It was very weird because having a camera on set, even for a big day like this around Rick, was kind of nervy. So there's one or two that I have where Rick's kind of looking at me like, you have a camera on set. But it's like, it was 2005 and it's digital and you're canceled. So it's okay. You can't, what are you going to do? Keep me off the lot now? But that was my point, is that was Majel's own little ritual. She would go down, and, especially after Gene died, she would go down and wish them well and then kind of come in and welcome the ship home at the end.
Yeah. That is.
So how's that for the theme today?
Well, that's a beautiful example, Larry. And, one of the things I was thinking about is.
And she was gone 3.5 years later after that. That was in 2005. She died in December 2008.
One of the things that I was thinking about prepping for the show is how every culture really has a ritual around death and funerals and marking that. And that is something that has been greatly disrupted by the pandemic. Our ability to be able to mourn the people we've lost in the way that we do has been significantly limited, and people have been trying to find ways of marking that. But what often people do is, when they've lost someone that they love, is they do tend to form different rituals to remember them. So one of the things that one of the things that I lost my brother more than 10 years ago, and he's the one who got me interested in Star Trek. He's the one who introduced me to Star Trek, cultivated my love of it. He took me to go see Star Trek 6, which started this journey to Star Trek, and then he was the one who told me, if you realize that Star Trek 6, you like that movie, there's 5 others. And I was like, I thought that was Star Trek VI. I didn't realize that was Star Trek 6. And then
I thought V was in a deleted scene.
Yeah.
It just got cut out. Yeah.
And so started our journey to Blockbuster Video, where we rented whatever Star Trek movie we could get our hands on, and I watched them all out of order. I think I watched The Search for Spock before I watched Wrath of Khan. So, that was my journey.
This explains much, Cadet.
But one of the things that I do, whenever I'm wearing a Star Trek shirt or I'm wearing a badge like this, it's not just to communicate that I love this stuff, but like honestly, my intention there is my brother. Like I had a hard time being open about my love of these things, and after he died, whenever I see Star Trek, whenever I play the games that we played together, to me, it's about remembering him. And whenever I wear these things, it's a way of sharing so much of what he gave to me with other people. And so it's a little ritual I have. Whenever I'm really wearing Star Trek stuff, it's really more about him than it is about me. And we all find these ways of remembering the people we've lost, like Mijel did here with Jean. Like going to the first and last day of shooting was one way in which she was really remembering Jean and helping others to remember Jean. And so we all tend to do that in our own ways. So I really love how you shared that example, Larry. That's a great one.
Well, yay. After 76 episodes, I finally got one right. Yay.
Oh, goodness. Well, that takes us...
I passed the surprise Ali test. So
I love the surprise Ali test because it is named after me. So let's get to the away mission here.
It's the whole new meaning for the SATs. Okay.
Yeah, which we just dropped from the University of California system. They're gone. Good riddance there. All right, let's talk about away mission. This is the part of the show where I give you a little example of one way in which you can apply what we've been talking about to your own life. This week's examples have your own wrap party. So when you're done filming a season of Star Trek, how can you... No, I'm just kidding. That is
10 tips for your wrap party, your next wrap party. Yeah.
So as I talked about before, rituals can really help you cope. They can really help you stay grounded. They can really link you and connect you with other people. And for many of us, Life Support Live is a ritual, and Larry and I try to respect it as much as we can, although we know we're not here every week. And so we try to do that as best as we can. There's a lot of rituals here. Rituals can also be very increased safety. So in my household, washing your hand, like very much in a real ritualistic way, once you come home, washing your hands has become a very strong ritual since this pandemic has started. Yeah. And they have a way of communicating who you are, your identity, linking you with other people. And so really what I wanted to talk about here, Larry, is like this time of year, which can be very difficult for a lot of people. One, because there's not a lot, depending on where in the world you're at. I don't know how many people we have in the south hemisphere of the earth. I think we're a little bit biased towards the northern hemisphere on this show, but I might be wrong. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, let me know. But for many of us, this is quite literally a dark time. There's not a lot of sunlight. The days are long. We're approaching the longest nights. Mm-hmm. And in every culture, there tends to be some type of wintertime rituals and rituals for what to do when it's so dark outside. and when so many of us are isolated by cold temperatures and long nights. And so really what I wanted to do for the away mission here is to help you understand, like, what can you do this time of year that better communicates who you are or connects you with other people in some kind of ritualistic way. And when we talk about rituals, what comes to mind is more the religious beliefs, but they don't have to be. I've kind of talked about how wearing Star Trek is a way for me to remember my brother, or our family has ice cream on Fridays. And I think someone asked, only on Fridays, Ali? According to my daughter, we only have ice cream on Fridays. Like, once she's asleep, it's basically like a underground confectionery in here. Like, all bets are off then. But
I'm gonna come visit you and pull up all the floorboards.
there's gonna be, it's gonna be like the Millennium Falcon. There's a lot of stuff underneath there.
Stream crossing. Okay.
So it's totally okay if you might think, like, okay, you know what? I want to actually start, like, this time of year, I want to watch Star Trek Generations. Like, that's going to become my ritual. Or this time of year, I am going to put up this thing to remember this person. Or I want to start a ritual where on New Year's Day, I am doing something with a friend of mine to start the day with someone I love. Like, it doesn't matter if you've never done it before. You will get the benefits of doing rituals, even the first time you're doing them, if you've got an intention of, this is something that's really important to me and I want to do it. So I'd love to hear from our community. What are things you do during this time of year? Rose asked a question a little bit ago. Let me see if I can pull up Rose's question. Yeah, she asked, so Ali and Larry, what are your rituals for Christmas time and New Year's time? My new ritual will be to celebrate my birthday and Star Trek Cage Day. So what are your rituals that you establish around this week's time? I'd love to hear from our community. What are some of the things that you do so we can share ideas, so we can help each other, especially those who might not know what to do during this time of year. And with that, Larry, I want to open our hailing frequencies and catch up on these comments and hear from people.
Speaking of Nichelle.
Yeah. Speaking of Nichelle. Linda says rituals are soothing. I really miss going to church. And Libby also says, now I want ice cream. Maybe that'll be your ritual. Post life support live ice cream is the time. Charlotte says, on Mother's Day, I publicly thank my mother on Facebook for not cannibalizing her young, even though I probably deserved it. Let's see what examples people have. Larry, are there any rituals you want to share that you do during this time of year, or that you used to do but have kind of fallen out, or that you intend to do?
Well, there's a lot of having had kids and watched them grow up and go away. There's a lot of things that I do as a kid and then as a parent that when there's not a kid in the formula, either me or having some, there's a lot of things that fall away. It's like Easter is that way, and Halloween is that way, and being in an apartment building now, I don't even have candy to give out to kids, kind of a thing. So there are a lot of things that are rituals that seem like they're kid focused or young focused. But having said that, no, I have, and we've simplified life. You don't really see it, but I have a little tree in here.
Yes, yeah. I remember it from last year. Last year was in frame in the shot. This year, not so much.
That's become a thing. But no, I mean, in our things are simplified. One thing we do is make a big thing out of our wedding anniversary and go out and always mark that. That's become a thing. And now that I think about it, conventions. Janet and I went out as a twofer bill as a guest. Well, this is. See,
I'm bringing it. I'm actually bringing it. I'm trying to bring it in frame here.
Now you do it. 10 minutes to go, and you do this. Okay.
There we go.
There's
your
go.
Tree.
there's a lot of ritual around conventions, and especially something like Vegas. And I know the people that
Yeah.
go on the cruise. I mean, when something becomes regularized, then you have the little things around. And if you have your convention you go to, it's in the same place or relatively same. There's things you do. I have the ritual of going to Comic-Con with my friend Lee that got me going down there in '06, right after everything Star Trek blew up, and I didn't know what I was doing in life, much less with Star Trek. And he was like, "Come down with us," and then Comic-Con blew up in a couple of years. But I had some rituals there to help me weather the storm of extreme growth and madness with chaos crowds. But Vegas and down there and going home for SoonerCon, and SoonerCon when I go home is always like a week. I go home and visit Oklahoma. It's like you going to New York, and stay in touch with people, and they pay my way. And I have got to do that, and a lot of this we haven't done, or it's been cut back. So that's I hadn't thought of that until just now. But a lot of the ritual that's still left to me is revolving around, Trek and fandom and work, and the marriage of all that.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great example. We haven't mentioned Star Trek ornaments yet. Um, but I did not grow up celebrating Christmas or observing Christmas at all. And so for a long time, Christmas has been this, like, I felt like I was in on the Santa Claus secret for a long time. Like, it was never something that, you know, yeah, I don't know who's watching, but I don't want to ruin anything for anyone. So Christmas was more about time off and being with family, like this time of year, because I got a lot of time off. But I always loved the Star Trek ornaments
Mm-hmm.
that would come out from Hallmark. I thought they were beautiful, so I tried getting those every year. And we didn't have a Christmas tree, so I would take the tops off of them so I can kind of play with them, and I would take the wires off of them so I could, I was assembling my own fleet. Now I wish I still had them because they'd be worth a lot of
That's
money.
you
Gosh.
know Now there's 4,700, thanks to Eagle Moss. But back in
Yeah.
the day, the only way you had little toy ships, especially ones that look good, were the
Well,
Hallmark.
I had three options. I had Micro Machines, which I had all of them. Ship models, which I had all of them, or Hallmark keepsake ornaments, which I had all of them. I would save up my lunch money to go
Did you
buy
have the
them.
first Enterprise that they underbuilt and became rare?
I don't think I had the first Enterprise.
Okay.
I had the D, I had the Voyager, I had the Defiant, I had the Enterprise E when that came out with First
Well, that's
Contact.
that's the thing. I mean, we're years and years from it. I don't know. That was in the '90s or late '80s. But the first year, they said, let's put the Enterprise as an ornament. And I guess they were licensing, the whole idea of licensing, IPs,
Hmm.
franchises. And the first year they did it as a test. And from what I heard later on, the demand was 8 times more than they made. So
Oh wow.
instantly, I mean, like they used to be, they'd go for like 300, maybe it's more now. And then the next year was the shuttlecraft and Spock's voice, but they made more, and so it's like no big deal. It's like people, I'm gonna get 5 of these, and they'll be collector's items. Like, no, they're not, because they made 8 times more. But the first year's, and they've redone the original Enterprise in a couple of different ways now. But that original first year Hallmark ornament is still like a collector's, because they vastly, as usual, the first time anybody dips their toe into Star Trek commercially, if it's a half decent cool product, like the books, first editions, they underestimate the power of the Star Trek crowd out there.
Oh, never underestimate the power of the Star Trek
Mhm.
crowd. We will sell things
Cool.
out. So growing up, to answer Rose's question, this will
Oh yeah.
probably this is going to cross the streams and surprise people. But what ended up becoming a Christmas tradition for my family was watching Star Wars. And I think the reason we did it is it was on, there's a channel here. I don't know if the channel's still around, but it was the USA Network. And I think it was USA Network. They would show all three of the original Star Wars trilogy back when those were the only Star Wars movies, back to back on Christmas Day. And so I remember my family and we would watch all of them, beginning to end. And I so loved it. I look forward to them. I could watch them any other time of year, but there seemed to be something special about having the day off, being away from school, my family getting together, us watching these three movies.
All of that in a mix.
All of that. Yeah. Eating popcorn, like having all like this fun food, candy, stuff like that. It was a really special day. So for me, like Christmas has always been associated with Star Wars and has been associated with that fun of doing things together. I'm very much looking forward to keeping that tradition alive with my daughter when she's old enough. She's 4. So A New Hope is almost child appropriate, but there is the Maz Cantina scenes where people lose their limbs and stuff, and so it's not quite there yet. But that is a tradition I'd like to keep moving forward. And the other thing I really love doing is I love doing what's the gift exchange, Larry, where you're assigned someone, but they
Secret
don't.
Santa?
Secret Santa. I really enjoy those. I think it takes a lot of the pressure off gift giving because you don't have to buy gifts for a ton of people because it can become a very expensive thing. And you do have one person that you get to think of, and you get to there's a surprise of who got whom what. I enjoy Secret Santas a lot.
Yeah. I thought of another personal ritual here that's holiday related.
Yeah.
I have a niece that was born on December 22nd. And it's nothing specific aside from every year, my older brother, every year their family, since she was a little girl, they always made a big deal to celebrate her birthday and not just have it blur into Christmas. Just because she had the misfortune of being, born 3 days before Christmas. So I don't know if anybody else in the lifers is in that situation or knows somebody that way, but it's not a ritual aside from the fact that they always took the pains to make sure everything else stopped and they did it. And it was like, oh, here's your Christmas, and oh, here's your birthday.
Yeah. I have a friend who's born on. I have a friend who comes from a family that very much observes Christmas and a lot of Christian traditions, and he's also born on December 25th. So for him, like his family, they thought, this is amazing that our son is born on Christmas Day. This is the best Christmas gift ever. For him, it's like, come on, man. I'm getting half the gifts I would usually get. We have so many amazing comments here, Larry. Rose, I hope we answered your question a little bit. I want to run through some of these comments, and Larry, I know you usually go from the top down. I go from the bottom up here. So let's go. We'll meet ourselves.
Such a philosophy reflection of life. Okay.
We had a lot of love for Amok Time. Jim and Kyle were mentioning Amok Time much earlier in the show. And then Libby was also saying Wilson Cruz and Anthony Rapp are bringing in new people to track who have never watched it before, Broadway fans and LGBTQ plus people, at least those who weren't already fans. A lot a lot of credit has gone to Star Trek Discovery for its LGBTQ plus representation, and I think they've really done a fantastic job. They have really created characters from the ground up that have always been LGBTQ plus and shown us relationships, which is not only have they shown us great relationships that just happen to also be LGBTQ plus, but these relationships are some of the best relationships that we've seen. I would argue maybe since Deep Space Nine.
I saw people talking about this, and I never would have put. I still am. I'm colored on Discovery the way I was colored on Voyager. Kind of thinking about, even though I didn't have quite as front row a seat, it was kind of all out in the open. They kind of spilled the guts of of Discovery's rough beginnings as a behind the scenes. So I'm still a little affected by the whole sausage making thing, but I've seen a lot of people comparing Discovery lately to DS9. I was a straight white guy, and there's been so much that I have learned about how a lot of people in the on the gender spectrum, the identity spectrum, saw the Trills, saw Odo, saw so many transformational transformational. Some of the characters in DS9 really spoke to people that were in the closet, basically. Forget just basic, gayness. But now Discovery is kind of doing things more, still in a science fictional vein, but a little more on the nose. But anyway, and that's incredible. But it's something like I never, of course I wouldn't. I was a kid, or I wasn't a kid, but didn't see. And everything is, if they were going to be pushing the envelope, it was the whole thing about, oh, Jadzia is kissing her former host's mate, who is now a woman, and ooh, that's groundbreaking, in their delicate little 90s way of what they feel like they can, dance to. But to see people seeing the show in that vein, it's like a revelation. And then to see that's kind of backing what's Discovery got going on. But anyway.
Nathaniel had a great question, as Nathaniel often does, asks very thoughtful questions here. How do rituals benefit people differently than past times? Bashir and Odo's regular holosuite time would not count as a ritual, nor the Cisco's playing and watching baseball. It depends, Nathaniel. So if those need to be done in a certain order, in a certain way, it can be more ritualistic. So if Bashir and Odo are saying, like, it's the end of the shift, we have to go play darts, this has to happen, it's what we do after a shift ends, that's a ritual. Same thing for Holosuite. If they go every Saturday or whatever they call the days of the week at Deep Space Nine, that could be a ritual. To answer your question, how do rituals benefit people differently than past times? I think they benefit people the exact same way. They ground us. They give us expectations. They help us to deal with uncertainty. They communicate our identity. They help link us together, but they also exclude people. And sometimes they can make it hard. If we're too ritualistic, it can make it hard for us to live our lives. So,
I might say that maybe right now we're just more aware of ritual and the value and the downside when they're used as exclusionary. But for the most part, I think is a mental health tool to get through, not the uproar, what I'm trying to say, the disruption of the pandemic and trying to find some normalcy and
ground. Yeah.
That we're just more aware of, even not just big rituals, but these things like movie nights and, date nights and certain things of the week. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the more boring rituals that my wife and I adopted here with the start of the pandemic is every Wednesday we do a family meeting. We never used to do this before, but with the pandemic, when we were sheltering in place, we lost childcare. We had to plan out things much more in advance. And so this ritual has stuck because it's incredibly useful. We really, I don't know if we like doing it. We like the effects of it. And so we've stuck with it. And it's a very boring ritual, but it's
kind of the inverse of the Zoom awareness for people.
Yeah, sure.
It's live. It's in live. Yeah, you're having a meeting.
We're doing it live. So it's been a really good one. The other one that I've adopted, Larry, that I didn't used to do before the pandemic is journaling. I now, when stuff is on my mind, I journal about it. I don't journal every day, but when there's something I'm thinking about a lot, I journal about it now. And that started because I didn't want to forget what I was going through during the pandemic. I wanted future Ali, like future Guy in Enterprise, to be able to have this record of what happened during this time. And so that's kind of become a bit of a ritual for me. Phil said Insurrection is my favorite TNG film. Not a comment I see every day.
There it is. There was a conversation about 11:10-ish or so about not of which we officially condone, of course. It just grew up, but somebody wants to make when I'm trying to catch up in the chat part of the drinking game, which almost feels ritualistic now because it happens every week. Whether I'm just not trying to do it or celebrate it, but it happens. It seems to be. So maybe it's a ritual for you all. Not for me.
I think that addition is good. Although I've run out of coffee. I've drank this whole French press now.
That's why you've calmed down.
Yeah. I have I have about 2 sips left
And
over here.
Dan Leckie noticed I was wearing a red shirt. Uh, he says, "Could the unfortunate ends often met by red shirts be described as a ritual?" I don't think so. I was just trying to be a little holiday spirit.
Well, you're in Command Red, or the motion picture Maroon, and I am definitely in medical blue here today.
Well, Melanie, right after that from Dan, Melanie said that your badge is on the wrong side. So
I know.
Are you coming from mirror side here?
There's a reason for that, Melanie. I usually put it on the right side. I put it on
That's your mic?
the right side, not literally. I put it on the left side, which is the right side. Who's on third?
Put it on the port side.
Yeah. I put it on here because if I put it on here, you don't see it in camera. I usually put it on here and the mic covers it because the mic is right. My mic is right there, so I put it on
the
here.
Mic is. I started. The mic post is your mic stand is in concrete and cannot be moved.
I can't. I'm not moving it. It's not. There's no space for it here. So that is the explanation there. Melanie said, Dr. Ellie, what you said about your ritual of wearing Star Trek stuff to honor those who got you interested in Star Trek was very touching. Thank you, Melanie. It's the truth there. Sometimes my wife is just like, more Star Trek, and I'm like, it's important. It's a peacekeeping armada. It's important.
Does she know that link between you and your brother through Star Trek?
She does, but sometimes she's like, okay, we're gonna.
It's buried. Yeah.
We're not turning your home. We're not turning your office into a holodeck. Like, we get it. Keep that badge on the wrong side. We're not transforming this place.
So she says. So now it's become okay. Enough. But no more shrine for your brother.
Right.
Is that,
right.
That's only going to go so far.
Yeah, that's only going so far. Charlotte said, Ali, my parents started me on Star Wars in infancy. Your kid's plenty old enough. We shall see very soon. Andrew said, New Year's is always eating Chinese food for dinner. Of course, for me, that's really easy. Yeah, like small things like that. Like, oh, it's New Year's. This is what my family does. We're going to go do it. Small little rituals like that can often ground us. Linda said superstition has a lot to do with rituals too. Absolutely. We often see this with performance situations, so sports and acting and theater. There's a little discussion about like not mentioning the name of the play, which is, Larry, you're probably more familiar. You have more of an acting background than
Scottish play is what you say. Yeah.
Right. Not saying that name. Is a tradition, but it also has a lot of superstition associated with these beliefs. Jim says Ollie should do an album. Great cabaret voice. That is very kind of you to say, Jim. Please tell my wife that because she disagrees.
I once dated a girl that when I would start to sing or something, she'd say, "You know, I really like that song when they do it."
My friend dated someone who, my friend loves to talk deeply about media he's watched, which is why we're probably good friends. And he dated someone where like...
You don't mean he talks like this.
No, not talk deeply. Okay. Let's talk Star Trek. The person
and now the news about the news.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever he was talking about media that she was not interested in, she would say, next topic. That relationship did not last very long. When we were talking about the Bajoran gratitude eating thing, Charlotte said, my favorite part of that meal is, of course, Data's request to see more of the petty bickering.
Can we have more petty bickering, please? Yeah.
Which, if you're an android who's very interested in social customs and learning about people, I totally see why you'd be interested in that. That's where all the action is. Mm-hmm. When I was singing, when I was going off on Rent, Charlotte said, you ever get that feeling that Larry wonders what the heck he's gotten himself into in this partnership with Ali? Every week, I wonder that myself. Jarrod said, Star Trek Generations, what a great segue into the mentioning the Christmas night Zoomy chatty thing. That will be a Star Trek Generations watch along. Thank you, Jarrod, for organizing that. Jarrod is, he organized the last couple of weeks Zoomy chatty things while we had some conflicts.
Yes. Yes.
Appreciate
Thank you,
that,
Jarrod,
Jarrod.
for that.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to tell everybody what's coming up with us?
Yes, let's talk about what's coming up with us. Folks, we've got, speaking of conflicts, tis the season for more conflicts. So,
and we don't mean, like Rock'em Sock'em Robots conflict.
no Rock'em and no Sock'em. Larry and I have got some conflicts coming up the next few Saturdays. So, we are going to be...
Maybe you do too, also.
Yeah, you might as well. Christmas Day and New Year's Day both fall on Saturdays, and next week, next Saturday, I'm going to be away during that time. So we can't do... Life Support Live will not be airing on a Saturday until after New Year's Day. However...
The 8th. January 8th.
Yeah, however...
However,
we are doing a watch-along event that's going to happen in between Christmas Day and New Year's. It'll happen during the weekday. Hopefully, many of you are off from work then. We're still figuring out the exact time, but it will happen that week in between Christmas Day and New Year's. Larry, do we want to announce what we're doing the watch-along with? Have we made our firm decision?
I'm fine to go. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You announce it.
We had a window. Didn't we say we would shoot for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably going to happen Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday that week, that last week of 2021.
Right. And we're going to watch... Dum, dum, dum,
Dum, dum, da-da. We're not watching 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I was doing the intro with the light popping on. Dum, 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 dum. Dum, 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 dum. Oh, wait, that's Wrath of Khan. Don't forget that. Okay.
I thought you were doing like Bonanza or something.
No. Although Bonanza had a Next Generation show, too.
Yes. We are doing, what was it called? The
motion picture.
No, I know that. What was the Bonanza sequel?
It was called Bonanza: The Next Generation.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. If Star Trek was Wagon Train to the Stars,
then
it might have
Bonanza to the toilet is what that became. Yeah. It was bad. Which is why they really thought hard about you calling Star Trek The Next Generation. Like, do you want to be lumped in with the Bonanza fiasco?
Oh, man. Well, we are... we're going to be doing a watch-along of Star Trek The Motion Picture. Larry talked about all the anniversaries. We've got a 42-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. And, folks, I just really want to watch the motion picture again. Yeah.
It's all his thing.
I haven't seen it in a very long time. And the longer time passes, the more I like the motion picture. So we're gonna watch.
Oh, you're getting old, slow, and sleepy too, just like them.
Yeah, if you don't like it, if you don't like the motion picture, fire up our watch along, and it'll help you go to sleep. Like we'll have a
midweek, midday nap that you didn't know you needed in the middle of the holidays. Yeah, come collapse from the holidays in between. I used to call that dead week.
Mary says, fantastic choice, my favorite. Melanie also seems to be positive on the motion picture. Tim says, make sure it's the director's edition.
This was what I was going to say. We need to pick which, we'll try to get director's edition, which is revamped, from 2001.
Andrew
which I think is the one that's available on...
I think so. I think it's the only one available on streaming.
The motionless picture, I know.
Andrew says the motionless picture. Yeah, we've
also
heard that.
Star Trek: The Motion Sickness. I know. I'm sure that too.
I haven't heard that one.
Oh, that's old. Those are the old. That's the 1980s stuff. Yeah.
Motionless
picture and. Yeah.
Charlotte says I slept through the motion picture somewhat recently.
Well, then you'll be all fresh, Charlotte.
Yeah. We're definitely going to do the director's edition. And Tim says the motion picture is an unappreciated classic. I agree, and I will be making my thesis for why it's such a good movie while we're doing the watch along.
Alrighty then.
And I'm Larry. We just haven't talked a lot about motion picture. You do talk about it on social media every now and then. I've noticed that, particularly the scene.
I talk about Star Trek.
Well,
not,
yeah.
Not much on the Kelvin, but I mean like real Star Trek.
Ooh. Gosh, one of these days I'm going to make you watch 2009.
Real equals Prime, okay? The other ones are fine, but it's like, who has time to go off and have this hobby talking about the Kelvin when you've got all this Prime stuff to deal with? I didn't invent the thing. I didn't create it. It's going to be the stub on the tree of Star Trek for forever. I didn't do that.
So yeah, we're gonna watch it. It's gonna be a ton of fun. I can't wait for the 10-minute
valuable stub, I'll say.
I can't wait for the 10-minute Scotty and Kirk approaching Enterprise dock sequence.
You have to be in the right. You have to have just spent 10 years fighting to get Star Trek back.
Yes. And also
79 hours of Star Trek fighting to get some kind of Star Trek back through all kinds of twist turns and melodramas and soap opera.
And you have to have just witnessed the launch of the Voyager probes. Let's go back in time and put ourselves in the context of 1979. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of ourselves, Larry. We'll announce the exact date closer.
We're focusing on the Tuesday, Wednesday. We can we can take a survey. We may not have to be bound by it, but we can put a poll up on the Facebook page that you all should be part of. Yes.
Yep. And yes, we are going to watch that entire overture in the beginning. Absolutely. And we are going to let that new theme just flow over us. Yes, we're going to wash ourselves in the motion picture. It's going to be a great time, folks. So, yes, Larry.
I have one more image I sent you late. Did you get it?
Oh, I did get it. I got it. Here it comes.
One more
3,
thing for
2,
future.
1.
Boom. Everybody, if you want to have I have 2 gift ideas for you, for your Star Trek person, which could include you. One, we're bringing back the Portal 47 in a box. Yay! It's 6 months or 12 months. It's a deal offer, plus there's some swag and member stuff in there. And if you go to LarryNemecek.com, there's a click in. There's the actual page. And if you can get it like ordered by the 17th, I will mail it to you or to whatever, if you want to do a gift, I have a gift card to put in it, and bang. And the other thing real quickly is, and I don't have this, I don't think, do I have it handy? Nope, I don't. Anyway, our TeePublic store, everything is 30% off right now today, and they're very wacky about when they have the sales and not, but I did check, and today everything is 30% off. So the t-shirts are like $14, and the other stuff is there too. So you can get life support stuff, you can get other Trekland things, if you're looking for something smaller for yourself. So yay.
Yep.
That's go to my LarryNemecek.com, and there's a store link there. It's simpler than saying the TeePublic, the Trekland shop at TeePublic.
Simpler than a Vulcan going through Pon farr. With that, Larry, it is going to be time to play our lovely theme song.
I thought the music was playing already. Okay,
no,
yay.
It's playing now. It's playing now, Larry. Between now and our watch along, our holiday watch along, where can people find more of Trekland and Larry Nemecek?
Well, I just LarryNemecek.com. All my social, Larry Nemecek on Twitter. Everything else is Larry Nemecek's Trekland. Please go and like and subscribe. YouTube would be awesome. And my Instagram, we're doing a lot of fun things with reels over there too. So check that out. That's also Larry Nemecek's Trekland. And if you're not a big Instagram person, it keeps evolving. And so come have some fun with us over there too. There's a lot of other good Trek accounts too. There's more and more people going to Instagram from Trek World and Sci-Fi World. So.
Yeah, folks, I am Dr. Ali Mattu on social. You can check out my YouTube channel, The Psych Show, which is my main stopping grounds. And that's it's about it.
You're just trying to survive December.
I'm just trying to take it day by day. Is what we do. Christoph says some lifers don't do Facebook. Please, Larry, Ollie, Jarrod, Scott, repost extra events and schedule changes on Twitter too. Always a good reminder for us, Christoph. Absolutely. I'm not a huge...
Yeah.
We're not really fans of Facebook at all. So I definitely feel...
It is icky. It's kind of what it is. And people are still trying to find replacements for Facebook. So
Yep. Cairo says, happy holidays, everyone. Have a good transition over to 2022. And Andrew says, my favorite Tellarite, take care, my friend.
Aww.
Oh, that is...
Sarge goes back with me to when I did a Tellarite at the New Voyages at Phase 2. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
And all the love coming in from our lifers. We are very much looking forward to our next regular episode, our next Saturday episode, which will be in 2022. Who knows what we'll be talking about? Maybe the Discovery finale is what will be inspiring.
Maybe it will be what were we thinking about doing a watch party for the motion picture. Who knows?
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
It will be.
And we'll do it live.
We'll have weeks and weeks of Star Trek Discovery into Picard, into Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks in there somewhere. Prodigy's season will pick up again. There'll be tons of Trek going on for sure.
Tons of Trek. That's the story of 2022. Until then, folks, live long and prosper, my friends.
Yeah.